In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care.
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law, you're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Well, it may not come as a surprise to you, but I was a bit surprised to see that everybody's favorite ex-mayor, Rudy Giuliani, everybody's favorite ex-lawyer to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, the guy who was found guilty of that contempt charge and then found guilty in the civil case of defamation of those two sweet Georgia poll workers. He was thrown to the edge of penury, of being penniless. What was he going to do?
That's a ding word.
Penury is a ding word, you're right.
Yeah.
Was he going to be able to step up somehow and save his house, save all of his Yankee swag, his prized possessions? What was he going to do with that penthouse apartment?
Gonna cheat like he always does, Mark.
He was going to have to sell it, but he had a different plan. That's right.
What?
He was going to move it. A lot of that stuff can be moved. They were supposed to be handed over, all that stuff. The Mercedes-Benz, which is a vintage Benz, a signed Joe DiMaggio jersey, 26 designer watches, because he had to know what time it was in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Those items and more were supposed to be handed over last week to begin paying off a $148 million judgment to two former Georgia election workers whom Giuliani defamed. Well, the deadline came and went, and still nothing was turned over. The judge said, this is the final deadline. Brushed aside Giuliani arguments that the possession should remain with him. He said, get rid of them, get them over to them, or I will hold you in contempt. Well, now it would appear that he has tried to hide those possessions. And in so doing, the judge is livid. He wants Giuliani to be hit with contempt charges. Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, the former election workers, they sued Giuliani for defamation. He claimed, without evidence, that they tried to steal the presidential election. They should be in possession of all this. $148 million is what he's facing. His home, a 10-floor apartment near the top of a white glove cooperative building, those co-ops in New York that are really hard to get into. It was listed in October for a little over $5 million, down from the original price of $6.5. And still that is being delayed. In the courtroom, his lawyer argued that forcing his clients to surrender a watch given to him by his grandfather was vindictive. The judge said, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. If they have a debt, they have to be paid. The law is the law, said the judge. On Halloween, when lawyers for Freeman and Moss were granted access to the apartment, they said they discovered that Giuliani's most valuable items, luxury furniture, art, and Yankees collectibles, had been moved.
Clean the place out.
A week earlier, he got rid of all that stuff, moved it in hiding from the court.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Many of the items have been put into storage in a Long Island facility, said a lawyer.
Sayonara, sucker!
All right. Several watchers and a 1980 Mercedes-Benz convertible are at Mr. Giuliani's Palm Beach condo, according to his lawyer. We've asked for where the stuff is over and over, said a lawyer for the two women. The notion that your client doesn't have any knowledge of where his assets are located is farcical, said the judge. This is to be continued. But Rudy doesn't look like he's stepping up to make good on the debt. Texas secessionists are declaring revolution after the election result. Independent campaigners have hailed, quote, a revolution in Texas politics.
You mean we're not going to have a Texas anymore? Aww.
Well, 10 Republicans who've committed to supporting a referendum on secession from the United States were elected to the state legislature, Kim. They have, for some time now, they have maintained this position that Texas should get rid of that pesky USA and become a Texas state of their own. It's the Texas nationalist movement. And 10 politicians, all of these people won seats in the Texas House, were signatories to the Texas First Pledge. They vowed to, quote, vote for legislation and resolutions to call for a vote on Texas reasserting its status as an independent nation and to work toward a fair and expedient separation of Texas from the federal government if this referendum is won. They continue that fight. The man who smashed doors and ultimately the door moments before an officer killed a Capitol rioter, sentenced 8 years in prison.
Well, he won't have to serve that time. Trump will come in and he'll pardon everyone. Done.
No, it's possible that you're right on that, Kim.
That guy's laughing right now. Like, yeah, 8 years. We'll see.
The man who stormed the U.S. Capitol smashed the glass panels on a door moments before a police officer fatally shot another rioter climbing through the opening has been sentenced 8 years. Zachary Alam, one of the first rioters sentenced since this week's electoral victory by President-elect Donald Trump, who, as Kim has noted, has repeatedly vowed to pardon and free supporters who attacked the Capitol. Before learning his sentence, Alam said that he and all the other January 6 rioters should get what he called, quote, a pardon of patriotism. I want a full pardon, he said, with all the benefits that come with it. I don't want a second-class pardon, he said. He'll be out by February of 25, says B.A. Ware, and that's exactly what Kim is saying as well. You'll remember Ashley Babbitt, the 35-year-old Air Force veteran from San Diego, shot and killed by an officer as she tried to climb through that shattered glass. And finally, where are my weed smokers at, Albert?
Where are my weed smokers at?
Florida voters rejected a ballot measure that would have legalized recreational marijuana for adults.
What?
They needed a 60% supermajority.
Doesn't anybody better weed?
You
know what's interesting about this one?
A little bit. Okay.
Is that Donald Trump supported this one.
Yeah, he knows. It's a political winner. I mean, there really aren't but apparently there are in Florida. I was going to say there aren't many who would, vote against it, but apparently in Florida there are plenty who don't want it to happen. The campaign faced opposition from the Florida Republican Party, though, and Governor Ron DeSantis. He said that it would negatively impact quality of life. So they were aiming to allow up to 3 ounces of marijuana, and they wanted to, reclassify marijuana. That can only be done by the DEA, but there are discussions underway to reclassify marijuana. But now Florida's voters have spoken, and they have failed to legalize recreational marijuana in Florida. That is law and disorder.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.